6:01, Wednesday, October 16th, and I'd like to call our meeting of the Economic Development Commission to order. And this is Greg Diley, Chairman, President. Around the room, Stephen Roque.
Bill Carey.
And we're hoping to get
cameras now.
at least one more, maybe two more, in order to take our votes. You know, we know that two will not be here, but I think that Mark and Jean should be here because they didn't tell me they wouldn't be making it. And I know that Mark sometimes is traveling from a distance. And
Mark's the one that sits there.
Yeah, he often sits there. Okay.
I'm trying to fix this thing because the cameras. I don't know.
We do have the review new business evaluation templates on this agenda. Well, the first several items on our agenda are ones that require a vote and need to have at least one more person here for quorum to be able to vote. Do we have any other? Oh, is it turned on? The owl's not working. Is there a switch on the side? Is
It was working today one night.
any setting on the Zoom? Plugged in? Yeah, it doesn't look like it's lit up. Oh. Well, okay. All right.
I hope so.
Okay, I will skip down to a couple things that are just updates here. Number 8, I was going to report on the progress on the signage proposal that would promote Southwick as a recreational destination. And there, I just want to say that I went and met with Martin at Southwoods and laid out the idea and requested that he give us a quote on it. Because the process there, we want to be able to do this early spring, ideally, if we all agree to do it. So the first step is
Is that the owl?
yes. It chirped at us. It's okay. So the first step is to get the quotes, and then once I have those, and I hope that I have them by the next meeting, I'll put together a formal proposal, which we will then at our next meeting discuss, depending on the quotes, how many signs we want and where they would be placed, and the details of the proposal, which I think we'd want to present to the select board, since they're the ones that appoint us, and probably for a major initiative like that, they would be the ones to.
Did the guy from North Adams ever get back to you that initially heard this whole thing?
And I went back there and went into the visitor center again, but nobody was there that knew anything this time.
Yeah.
But I think we can get the information. What I'm quoting on in terms of the signs is a 2-foot by 18-inch wide, probably metal based, aluminum sign with durability for all weather and protection. We'll see what those would be each with the mounting. And he showed me some examples of some, they do that.
It's not something they'd be making up custom. There are off the shelf options for this kind of thing.
Yeah, there are kind of standard
Yeah, good.
things for this. And he said, yeah, we can, that's a standard dimension. You get that many out of this thing. There are printing processes that will do this. So there are signs that they do that are similar to that. And we'll find out what they are and how we would mount them. And depending on the expense, I wouldn't do a whole lot at once. I'm thinking maybe 3 or 4, depending on how expensive they are initially in the durable rigid size. And I like that size because they really stand out, especially if you have bright color and a great design, and it's right there on the side of a kiosk. I think a couple prime positions I would want to do. I'd want to do at our main boat launch. I'd like to have one there for sure. I'd like to have one at our primary parking for our bike trail. There's a lot of people go through there. Have that off that kiosk. And then depending on the expense, do a couple other kiosks in town. Maybe they've got a brand new kiosk at the Granville Gorge. A lot of people go through there. And then in addition to those, using the same design, I want to create some like 11 by 17 size on a heavy duty paper, but bright, same color, same design, but paper versions that could be put on all the remaining kiosks behind the glass.
Yep.
As well as we'll come up with options that we'll try to get various businesses, particularly restaurants and other businesses, to display on their walls if we can get them. Because we want this to build more traffic to our website. We're going to create a special landing page for this QR code that's going to be on the sign that will give them options to get restaurants, to get other recreational sites in town, and to get the full Shop Southwick directory. So it'll build traffic to all those things, and we'll try to make it very easy, just with a couple taps, they can get to any of that information, which now is very hard to find. Especially for a visitor and just on a cell phone, they don't know where to look.
Yep.
What's gonna be on the sign though to like pique their interest as opposed to just a bunch of QR codes? What do you?
Well, I don't know, maybe you didn't see the
I don't think I did.
presentation originally, and I could pull that up here, the file, and this would be worth
It's in there?
doing. But does this work?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I'll just use this right here. You see sign ideas. It's the one. Takes a little while to open these. I'm gonna share it onto the screen.
Are we gonna start from the top or the
On
agenda? We're gonna
the
start
agenda,
from-
I'm skip the early ones until we have a quorum. I'm
Oh,
hoping
okay.
we still get our quorum,
Okay.
but we can't vote on
Yeah, okay.
any of those till we have
Sure.
5 people. So that's why I skipped ahead to some that are
Mhm.
just
Okay.
updates. And while this is opening, I'll update you on the other thing. I did present my proposal for lowering the speed limits, adding crosswalks in the town center, presented it at the select board. And, hoping that, it was positively received, but what I was hoping is they would say, yeah, let's get this into the next town meeting as a warrant article. Which I'm just judging, I didn't directly push them to say that they would or not. Okay. Well, I'll finish. On that. So since they left it kind of up in the air, what I decided to do, and I talked to Nicole Parker, the CEO, about it. And what I know that I have the ability to do, citizen, I can put it in as a citizen warrant article through the petition.
And you have to draft the article yourself, who would draft?
Yeah, I've already drafted an article.
Yeah.
Simple article that we don't have to design the crosswalk. They somewhat got hung up on, the design of the crosswalk. They started talking about, well, it has to be this and that, and you can't just have a crosswalk that's pink, because one of them said, one of the parts of it, if you remember, I said it could be as simple as just a painted crosswalk. And then I said, no, it can't be. And you've got to, get all these designs and you know what showed up at Tannery Road a week later?
A painted
A
crosswalk.
painted crosswalk with nothing but paint. Anyway, and it's across College Highway, just before Tannery Road. So it's the same kind of thing.
Jean has
So
just
I
joined.
think it could be. So
Jean has just joined.
oh, Jean has joined, so now we have a quorum. Well, I'll finish this sign question. This is. I'm following after this thing,
I see.
the
what you're
sign
doing.
that was at Adams. It would
Okay,
be,
I
it would
see.
be like this, Adams, they say explorers welcome.
That's what I
and-
imagine.
Then I even did a very rough concept, just a cut and paste concept, where it could look like this.
Mhm.
Enjoy Southwick. Bike and hike, golf, boat, shop, wine and dine, scan here for the whole directory. So something that would give kind of a branding
Mhm.
of the town that would be eye-catching, that people could in seconds really get to all the places that the other locations
Good.
and go to our directory and it would build. I want to build more and more traffic to our directory and to our website. We're up to about 950 unique users now. So we're approaching 1,000
Is that
and
basically the sign that you got the quotes on?
the general dimension of that, and that's about, I'd say 18 inches by 2 feet high.
Yeah.
Which is, it doesn't have to be huge.
Right.
It's just gotta be eye catching and, eye level and in places where you can walk up and get it. So I'm getting quotes on that. Quotes on the design, because I want it professionally designed. Then I'm also getting quotes on the Southwick destination map that we talked about, where we would put those out at places where they put brochures out. And that would be paid for by the businesses who were included in it. That would be a cooperative thing. This signage, we would do, I think, out of our gift account. If we get that approved.
Yep.
Because it's really pointing to everyone, whereas the printed pieces would feature ones who participated.
Yep.
And it would be a nominal charge, you're thinking maybe like $95 a business.
Yep.
If we got, 30 businesses in there, it would be enough to
Pays
justify
pretty quickly.
printing 15,000-20,000 maps, and there are brochure distribution companies. We could easily move 15,000 to 20,000 maps. The idea is to get it out to those in day trip distance. We don't have, overnight lodging unless they want to camp. So we would target mostly people coming for a day trip. An hour radius. So,
Just stop.
yeah,
just
you
stop
can
the share.
unshare that. Okay. Hello, hello, Gene.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. So now we can go back to the beginning of our agenda and we'll start by voting to approve our minutes from the last meeting. I got no revisions from anybody after I sent it out. And the process is, within a few days after our meeting, I'll send out the minutes. It's designed to not only be the official minutes, but also kind of to summarize the meeting in a way that gets people working between meetings. Here's what everybody agreed to do and what they're gonna have ready before the next meeting. So to me, it's an important working document that helps everybody know what's expected and what they talked about and agreed to. So since we have all seen the minutes and nobody gave a comment, let's go ahead and have a motion to,
I motion to approve.
okay, second. Okay. Let all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye.
Hi,
Okay, unanimously approved. So we can get those posted in a timely manner. We're caught up at this point and we'll hope to stay caught up. Then the next item is we have an open vice chair position. And I know we're missing a couple people anyway. We're missing, well,
Probably missing too many to act on that, I would think. but
yeah,
Feel good about that one.
okay, yeah, we're missing Serena. Jack wouldn't be in the running because he's already got an officer position, but with Mark. Okay, we'll put that off one more meeting, but would like, again, the idea of that is I want people to express their willingness, number one, to be in the position, then briefly, tell what their experience and their goals would be for doing it. And I think one of the legitimate goals is to be a training ground for taking the chair position. Again, my intention is to be chair for a year. I don't like having permanent positions. I like having things move, get mixed up. I like having goals that we complete and then move on to other things and keep it all active, not just have this kind of static committee that just sits and talks about things. And it should all be about getting things done. And that said, I would like to go ahead, even though we're missing a couple people, to at least start to fill out some people. Maybe we don't finalize the list of people assigned each goal. First thing I'll ask, and nobody gave me any additional goals, and I asked, after when I posted this list, I said, please let me know if you have any additions to this list of goals. And the idea of a goal is something that's very specific and can be reasonably accomplished by the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. At this point, only 8 months. So that's, and I put out a list of goals. So that, I guess what I'll start with, and they're printed at the end of the agenda. Does anybody have a change to any of these goals? Would anybody like to modify any of the goals that are on here? And Craig, this does include the idea of to launch, at the bottom here, launch a proposed Southwick and Bloom. That's one of them. Okay, if there are no revisions, does anybody have any additions to this list of goals?
I was at what's called a porch fest recently. I don't know how it would really help the business environment here in town, but I think the concept is something that's worth discussing. It was a lot of fun, and it brought a pile of people to the town. It was happened to be on vacation in Florida. And essentially what it is bands from around, or just musical performers, set up on somebody's porch and they play music for an hour, and then another porch, the other side of town, has a band that plays on their porch for an hour, then another band on the other side of town plays porch, and people run around in cars or golf carts or bicycles or whatever, and they go from house to house and listen to music on a porch, and then they all converged on a restaurant, outdoor restaurant bar area, and had a good old time and drank a bunch of beer and ate a bunch of food and was a big party. I had a blast. I thought it was great, and it brought a pile of people to town. Whether or not we could do something here in Southwick, I don't know. I just figured I'd throw it out there as something to talk about. Maybe we could do it from restaurant to restaurant instead of people's porch to people's porch or something like that.
Yeah, I think those kind of community events
Mhm.
are great. And I don't know if Sabrina would mind me bringing it up, but she was telling me just talking. She came to one of the hikes that my hiking club did. We did one at the Granville Gorge and beyond. And she was telling me her idea was to have kind of a tapas event. Tapas are,
Mhm.
you know, Spanish type thing where you'd have, you know, kind of hors d'oeuvres or small appetizer type things served at different restaurants that would be rotated so people would go to multiple
Same idea.
restaurants
Yeah, same idea. Instead of using music, use a menu item.
or combine them.
Combine needs to do
Music
better.
and food is good combination.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea. Do you want to develop it as a,
Yeah, I'll explore it, because I know
detailed-
they do something similar in East Hampton. So I could go to talk to somebody in East Hampton and
Okay.
get a feel for what. they
yeah,
do.
and we don't have to finalize the
Yeah.
list of goals. This is a starting list. We
Yeah.
can add to this at any
Mhm.
meeting. We can add a new goal,
Yeah, I'll come
I
to the
just
next
wanted
meeting
to
with some
have
kind of
some that we can start out
proposal
with.
with some more meat to it, I guess.
Okay, yeah. Welcome those kind of ideas. Especially from people who are willing to take the lead on them,
Mhm.
which brings me to the next issue that I want to do with these goals. Is I want to have 2 or 3 people assigned to each of the goals as maybe not a formal subcommittee, but as people designated to take leadership on those and help drive them forward, get them done. And, you know, if there's 2 or 3 people, it's fine, doesn't violate open meeting laws for them to meet and discuss it and develop the idea further. And bring those ideas back to the larger group for a vote. So has anybody thought about which goals they would like to?
I'd be happy to be the guy that arranges meetings with business owners to get their input. It's what I do all the time anyway. It's my job.
Great,
I'm
excellent.
more than happy to do that.
Okay, I'll put. And
Which one is that?
that's number 6. Yeah, I should have numbered these, sorry. And so I'm gonna put names down here as we go through it.
Jack and I are kind of working on the first 2 website related things.
Okay, put both of you on those, and we'll talk about that later. I appreciate that you're now got access to the admin and you're
Yeah.
able to actually start building it on your own. That's great.
I'd be happy to work with you, I assume, on the sign initiative.
Yeah, I will definitely be working on the sign initiative, so
Yeah.
I appreciate your
Yeah.
help on
Hey,
that.
Greg,
Yes,
assist on that sign issue also. When it's establishing signs, permanent signs,
yes,
you
right.
said 2 and 3.
Yeah, this would be
Design, produce, and install durable signs promoting Southwick recreational assets or the recreational assets. Okay, let me back off of that. Well,
the,
yeah, no, we can go that route.
yeah, these are the ones that would go on the kiosks or in the kiosks, or also have, you know, some durable paper versions that would be appropriate for hanging in restaurants and other public places.
Okay.
Because it would only help the restaurant for people to get hooked into the website. And then how about this destination map? Anybody else? I'm gonna be on that for sure. Anybody else?
I can work on that with you, sure.
And that would be appropriate for you because that will involve meeting with the
Town.
business people.
I thought.
In fact, I'd probably kick it off by pulling together. We have the email addresses of most of the restaurants
Okay.
and several other appropriate businesses. And the businesses that would go on this map would be things of interest to guests or visitors.
Right.
So they'd be restaurants, you know, it could be some of the unique retail outlets that,
Mhm.
you know.
Yep.
So
Can you share that database with me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In a sense, you can see it yourself on our directory.
Is it complete?
The directory has 170 businesses. in it.
Okay, and that has ownership names and that kind of stuff on there though, because that's what I would really need.
I don't make the email addresses public,
Yeah.
but you can see,
Yeah,
you can see their address, their phone,
Right.
their. You know, a
okay, so it's a
description.
starting point.
You can start developing the target list and you can
Mhm.
filter them by category. You can get an alphabetical list of all the restaurants. And just go into the directory and pull them all out and see the detail of each of them. And of the retail stores and of, you know, farm stands would be another appropriate thing for the destination map or any farm that is selling products direct to the public. Or is open to the public in any way. Things that are special interest to town. Plus, I would try to get things like and I talked about this with the historical commission. I wanted to get historical sites that would be of interest. One thing I suggested to them is maybe we should have kind of a walking map of our downtown historical buildings. Something written up about the ones that are older and just, I know that we didn't preserve a lot of our stuff, unfortunately. But we still have a few old buildings and old houses that might be of interest.
Yeah, I think Kirk said
in walking
he has a
area.
PowerPoint that he's gonna try to find.
Okay. But we would just try to build visitor interest in that. So, yeah,
So I'm thinking obviously for sure I'll, be involved in the last one there, but I'm also mildly interested in the one above it, but I don't want to commit to that yet. I want to explore it a little bit more. Because I've got some of the things I'm thinking about as well, as far as adding to the list here, so I don't wanna.
okay, so you're on for
On
Southwick and Bloom for
Yeah.
sure.
And if I will be on the board, I would love to do that as well.
Okay. You're on, and we'll make
Southwick
sure
and
you,
Bloom.
I will push hard
For
that
the
you're on the
next-
board by next
Spring.
meeting, by this next meeting, not
Okay.
all the way to.
So
next
as far
spring.
as timing goes on that, though, Diane's, still recovering, I think December is probably the earliest she'll be able to really.
Yeah,
Sorry.
of course, and it's the
Right,
holidays too.
and we just brought it up here, so
Yeah.
we're prepared when it gets, the real heavy work will be in the early next year.
Right.
But we wanted to start talking about it.
Absolutely, yeah. But I'm thinking, just to let you know, I'm thinking, something in terms which would dovetail with this Bloom. What our relationship looks like with the local farms, so that's, I haven't developed that yet.
Okay,
So that's why I have not added to this or suggested what I'm thinking yet. So I'm gonna hold on to that.
which is fine, but
Okay.
we'll have you down, you and Julie, and again, we'll revisit this next week when we have the full group. But at least we're starting to get people assigned on.
But the one just above it, is that have to do with the presentation we had from the library?
Right, and maybe we should have Jean talk about, I assume, Jean, you're gonna be on the partnership with the public library.
Yes, actually, I was looking for some support also on that, expand it a little bit, so, yeah, Craig your help or anybody's assistance on that.
Yeah, I can put you down on that as,
Yeah, temporarily
As
do
well.
that and then, let's see what happens with local farm concept.
and then on the enhancements to the town center, I was starting to talk about how my plan for that after the presentation to the select board, since they're kind of dragging their feet. I want to put it before a town meeting. And it looks like we are gonna have a special town meeting probably in December, maybe as late as early January, because the historical commission has proposed the purchase of a property next to I don't know how many acres is it? They've got it, it's right where their museum is.
Oh,
The property
House building
adjacent
there,
to that,
going down on south end of
Yeah.
College Highway, yeah.
right, that was part of that early farm. And it was a site that at one point, I think, was under consideration for marijuana cultivation,
Mm.
but is out of the running now. And it was valued really high, and then that value dropped way low after it wasn't considered for that. So they think it's a good value now to get it for preservation, and maybe some trails and associated historical
Yeah.
area there. So they want to present that in a town meeting, but can't wait till May. It has to be, I think their offer is only good into January or mid-January. So they're gonna have a special town meeting. It would have to be probably in December.
Yeah.
I think it's probably too late to get it into November. And I told our CAO, Nicole, that if the select board wasn't gonna put this in as an article, I would do it as a citizen warrant article. For a regular town meeting, I would just need 10 petition signatures. For a special town meeting, according to state law, requires 100 signatures, but I think I could easily do that with help. Inga already told me she would help, and Bert from agriculture told me he would help, and anybody individually. It's it's not an official thing of the Economic Development Commission unless we could do that, but I know state law allows for a citizen to
Mhm.
propose warrant articles. So I'm gonna do it if the select board won't, because I think it'll get overwhelmingly voted in. The way I'll write it is, we understand it has to be approved by the Highway Division of Department of Transportation, the state. But we want to give them our opinion on it, and there is specific laws in place that says a city council or legislative body of a town, which is the town meeting, can vote to assign a 25-mile-an-hour business district. That's a law, so I think we can vote on it. Now, they still have to approve it because another law says if it's a state highway, it needs to be also approved by the state highway department, so. But I can't imagine that they would not approve it if the town overwhelmingly wanted it.
This town council advised against it, because town council would be there if it was a special town meeting. It's always there. I don't know why you would. I'm just saying that would be one way that they could vote not to do it.
The town, I don't think the town council can stop the town from voting, though, if you have a warrant article.
Yeah, but he can voice an opinion saying it's not legal, it's not gonna fly. I don't know, because I know he did do that, I can't remember what the last meeting was. He stepped up and said, you can vote for it, but it's not gonna make it past the state. And that's what he voiced.
Well, and we understand in this case that it
Yeah.
also requires approval of state
Right.
highway, but as I've argued, Westfield did it in Westfield.
Yeah.
Just last month, Worcester did it.
Yeah.
Citywide. Boston and Springfield.
Yeah, I'm not arguing the merits of the initiative. I'm just saying that the town council would have the opportunity to stand up.
Oh, they
and
can
say-
weigh in on it.
Yeah.
They can give an opinion, but
Right.
they can't. I want to get the vote.
Right.
I want to know because I have yet to find in 2 years of talking about it, I've yet to find a single person who was against it when it was explained.
Yeah.
I've actually had quite a few approached me pursuant to our last meeting against it. So I almost wish we could caucus
You've had-
some time.
that saw the meeting or saw the newspaper article?
I think heard the meeting, yes. So I'm just wondering if there's not a way that we could, as a group, have a conversation about this before. It's, before we're in front of.
Oh, we definitely could. I
and
think
hash out
we'll,
some things.
we will have another meeting before. By next meeting, we'll know whether it's gonna go in front of, and there's always an opportunity to have people speak for and against it.
Mhm.
So,
I'm just thinking, you've written it up, I haven't seen what you wrote up. And so I'm trying to defend something that I haven't seen, so.
oh, well, I'll send it out again
Okay.
as I try to address all the arguments, and the biggest argument I can see is it just will slow everything down, and I've done tests, and it only adds 14 seconds to the average trip. From here to Tractor Supply, because you gotta slow down anyway for people turning, for traffic lights, for all of that.
But you know what I'm saying, it's just, if we could all maybe sit and look at it and just have a few comments, together. I mean, I don't know, we can endorse something as a committee, that's the other thing.
Well, we already did,
But
we took a
that's the
vote.
question that got to me is, you really can't do that,
Oh, that's not true.
well, so that's why we need to talk about it.
And we can't enforce it, but we can present an opinion as a commission. We can't implement it on
No.
our opinion,
No, of course.
but
not.
we can say, we think this, and the reason I think it's appropriate for economic development, because it is good for business. And one thing I would, talk about getting signatures on a petition. I would go up and down to all the businesses in the town center and ask them for signatures. And it'd be great if you could say that, a large number of the businesses sign the petition. Because they know it, there are people that avoid shopping in downtown because it's too hard to turn back out on the highway when it's busy. Especially if that make a left turn. Slowing it down will make it easier to turn out when people are, instead of coming, you have 35 mph, people are going 45. It's scary to make a left turn.
But yeah, I just think if we could, just, put some time aside, doesn't have to be a lot, but.
Yeah, well, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, because I'm pretty sure by the next meeting we'll know, and we'll know whether we got the warrant article in, but I'm determined to put the warrant article in, because I think, yeah, you're gonna get some people vote against it. I'm just saying, for me to talk to so many people and not even get one person negative, I think we're gonna get a majority. And that's what we need.
We just need to be educated when we.
Oh, yeah,
try to
I'll
defend
give
something,
you-
Whatever. so.
I'll give you the whole argument. I went into the number of
His
car
presentation was
crashes.
pretty spot on last time.
What's that?
His presentation was pretty spot on.
Okay.
He'd done a bunch of research on
I
it.
did all the pros and cons, and the only con I could come up with was, it might take you 14 seconds longer to get through town. But maybe not. In a time where it's really busy, it may not take any longer, because you gotta slow down anyway. You're just speeding up to slow down, because it's unsafe, and 40% of our car crashes occur on that 1.5 miles of road, which out of 90 miles of road in town, it's only 2% of the road and 40% of the crashes. And it's that
That's a
alone.
compelling, that's a very compelling argument. That many miles, 2%, equates to 40%. That's in itself is compelling to reduce the speed.
Yeah, and especially when I talk to my neighbors who, I say they're older, I'm pretty old. But, she says, "Ah, I hate going through downtown. I don't feel safe driving through there. People go so fast in that middle lane, and it's hard to squeeze over in there and they'll squeeze by you." And one business person in town who moved out, but just said she was scared to death that the people, she had a business near the top of the hill. Scared to death the way people came flying over that hill.
Can we make an action item for next meeting to go over the proposal again and prepare
Yes.
for maybe if there were to be a town meeting? And then we
Yeah,
can voice
I'll go
any sort
over
of
the
concerns.
proposal again.
Good, yeah.
And they usually publish these articles, warrant articles in advance too. Is that all you need to do?
Yeah, is everything fine? Nothing has switched
Yeah,
here?
no problem.
Okay, because it's on my account and
Because-
I wasn't sure.
No, no problem. Julie's running 2 meetings at once. She had to run up to, CPC. Cause they were, I guess Sabrina's out today and she usually takes that. Okay, well. So we're skipping around a little bit on the agenda as well as on these goals. Let's see if there's any more that the program to increase awareness of vacant town businesses, Mark kind of took the lead on that, so. Think about who would want to join with that. One thing I'll bring up in that relationship, I just got an email today from. This guy, here he is, from Sean O'Donnell from a company called Community Development and Planning. As I mentioned before, they're not a part of the government, but they work very closely with the government and with grants and with all that type of thing. They're kind of consultants on development of it sounds like the way they explain it is development of kind of industrial parks or business clusters. They're doing a lot of work right now with Northfield. So it's an example of another small town where they're doing work with it. And I'm wondering if maybe the best step, and I hesitated to bring him in before we were prepared to talk about it, but maybe I'll ask him if he just wants to come to our next meeting.
Tell us what they do.
And explain
Face to
what,
face, you could do it virtually, right?
right, he can zoom in.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'll propose to him. And they can talk about what they're doing with Northfield as an example. I know that he's gonna ask us questions like, well, how many open spots are there in your industrial parks? And, what are the types of businesses you'd run in there? And I'd say, well, we haven't worked out all those details, but we want you to talk about Northfield as an example and maybe other examples that would be relevant to our kind of town.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what he has to say.
Okay, I'll respond to him. He just emailed me this morning, so I'll respond and give him the date of our next meeting and ask him if he's welcome to visit in person or to zoom in on it. Okay,
I do have one more that, we should probably hang it on out there and see where it should go, but you and I have had the conversation about the transparency in this town with respect to equal and fair treatment as it relates to taxes and property taxes and so forth. I think it's very important that a business coming into this town that we can reasonably represent that is the case or will be the case. So I don't know how.
yeah, the challenge is how to address that, because you'd have to think of it in terms of something that fits into our authority, our mission is certainly we want to advocate for businesses. And we did do an initial meeting, Mark and Gene and I met with the assessment board. And
Well, maybe
we had more questions than answers.
yeah, maybe it's in, a matter of oversight and more transparency and accountability and all. I mean, how, maybe just like we're giving a recommendation for the speed limit, maybe we have to work on something like that.
Okay, well, let's flesh that out a little bit more
That's fine.
before we discuss it
Okay,
in an open meeting, maybe you and I or email me with some more thoughts and we'll come up with something that we could discuss.
Will you excuse me?
Sure.
If something, just end the meeting, okay? Just end the meeting if I'm not gonna come back.
Oh.
I
if
don't
you'll
know
make
what
it
time-
back
yeah.
before then.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know how long you guys are still planning to.
Okay, 6:47. I'm trying to make this shorter than the average meeting, but we'll
Okay.
see, but yeah,
If
if I
something,
I
just
can end it if,
yeah.
no problem.
right here. All right, thank you so much. Sorry.
No problem, you're asking me to do a lot. I'll put that down as a possible goal that we can add to here.
I mean, we're trying to create a safe place, that's one of those things where. That's,
What's your misgivings about it? What? Is there, you feel that people aren't being treated fairly in equity from a property tax standpoint?
it's not a feeling,
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, it was just a feeling I wouldn't even bring it up.
how is that even possible? Cause
Subjective, it's,
But- I wouldn't think it is subjective at all.
it is, especially with little or no oversight.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's something we'll come up with an approach that we can then bring to the open meeting in a way that we can talk about it as a group.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So we referenced most of these. I'll put Mark in initially on this vacant property. We'll get this guy from the West Mass Development Corp, hopefully in our next meeting. So that we're approaching. I'll comment on. We have this in our agenda elsewhere, but comment on the goal to implement a new business review process. And I sent our initial draft out to everyone. And what I'd like to do on that initially is to get the approval by vote for our subcommittee of Gene, Mark and I to go ahead and present. We'll clean up the draft. We'll talk about if anybody has any revisions they'd like to see in what I sent out. And not talking about, we'll do a final review and I have some suggestions. But if anybody has some broad criticisms of it or things that they think that are missing in that review process.
Have real misgivings with the whole process.
Okay,
I think it's far too subjective. I don't think it's town government's responsibility, job or position to be picking winners and choosers in the marketplace. I think it's up to the market, not government. And I think
Yeah,
because it's so subjective that it potentially opens us up to a lawsuit, which is the real concern.
okay. And yeah, since Mark isn't here, I think we will need to. We won't be able to go into that in detail, especially without the larger group.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, and our intention is to try to make it as objective as possible.
I know, and I see where you
And-
attempted to
and
do that.
I put in and the revisions I would try to make would be to add more data backing up every point.
Yeah.
In there. So that it's not objective. It's not
subjective.
subjective.
Right.
But is more objective. What we're trying to get at, and this was a criticism I had as an outsider looking in when the Carvana thing came through, is that groups like the Economic Development were silent on it. So, as an outsider, we just assumed they were all in favor of it, and maybe they were the ones that recruited and they're trying to make it go. And I think it's important for different groups. I know the Agricultural Commission spoke up as not being in favor of it.
Mhm.
I think we're in a position where we should be able to speak objectively, and it shouldn't be just, you know, personal opinion and feeling and whatever. It should be objective as much as possible.
Right. But like the very first sentence in the draft talked about controversial businesses coming to town. That term on its own is subjective. Just the word controversial means that there's people on both sides that have an opinion about it. That's a subjective standard. You can't use a
Okay.
subjective standard in a
Like
legal entity.
Yeah, and there's another way. What I meant by that
Yeah.
was that there was significant opposition.
Mhm.
That's what I meant by controversial, as opposed to, you know, you get a new restaurant coming in and they're filling an appropriate spot. There's no need to do an elaborate evaluation of it. It's not
All right, but,
controversial.
all right. I don't want to be argumentative, but I'm gonna point something out. You said, there's no need if there's a restaurant. So someone needs to make a subjective determination of when there's a need. And that's a line that we shouldn't be crossing as a public entity.
Well, the objective thing is whether there's a lot of people, if there's significant opposition.
Or if
And
it
maybe we
fits-
could quantify what we mean by significant opposition.
Well, I think what it really means is, does the business fit the zoning standards for the application? If it does or it doesn't, very objective. There's nothing subjective about that at all. People can be opposed to it. Somebody could be opposed to putting a barber shop across the street. They can be opposed to anything. That's not an objective standard that can be used.
But don't we, in a backhanded sort of way, even with the planning commission, we pick winners and lose that.
Not supposed to be. Supposed to be you're
But
you're
is that-
generating a set of
But
laws
isn't that
that are
what really
applied to
happens?
everybody. But shouldn't we strive to be objective?
No, I'm not saying we should, but isn't it? My question is, does that not happen now?
I don't think that's necessarily true.
Really?
I think they draw up a set of plans, zoning regulations, and they apply them as equally to everybody,
Right,
each
but my
business as possible.
understanding of the case study that we did, is that something that the planning board deemed to be something that they could chime in on, that it required a certain special approval based on the
Because
kind
it
of
didn't
zoning that
fit the
was
zoning, right?
that they had to, because of whether it was some kind of restricted business district, so they had some say in that.
Right.
You know, you could argue whether they had sufficient reason, and that's where they came back to
Right.
question it. But if it's something like that is open to decisions like that, I would like to be able to weigh into the planning board and say, here's our opinion of whether we think it fits. Because
Right.
ultimately, they came down on the idea that it was not appropriate for that location.
Right.
And
suppose-
basically what we were writing was agreeing that it was not
Yeah.
something that fit with our master plan. It was not something that was gonna be a big economic boon
Yeah.
for us. It was not something that would enhance the economic growth of the town.
Suppose a business wants to come to town. They go to the planning board, zoning board, and they make their proposal. And we, as a board, use the template and determine this company is somebody that we don't want in town. For whatever reason, whatever criteria we use. If the planning board decides to deny that permit for a legitimate reason, doesn't fit the zoning, yet through public meeting and information,
Yeah,
they find out that we, as a board, as a commission, recommended against it for a list of subjective criteria that's on the template. That exposes the town to a lawsuit.
okay. And that's, could be something that, you know, as we present our process, it would be
Yeah.
shot down
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
And And yeah, that's a risk, but I would say I don't want to too quickly give up on this,
Mhm.
because too often, for fear of that type of thing, you become so timid that you're unable to be effective at anything.
I think being afraid of a lawsuit is reasonable.
I think that we initially said, wouldn't it be nice if we could look at what the town has or what it needs,
Mhm.
whether it be, a medical emergency facility or,
All right,
a few doctors or something like that, and go out and search, which we used to do in the past. That's how TSC ended up here. That's how, oh, I can't remember the place up in Westfield, where a sign shop is right now. Where that used to be for the Salvation Army there, Frank's. That was brought in from Davison, Michigan, so that, I know the history behind all this stuff. We actually cold call these people.
I think that's great, because we're in the economic development commission, we
Right.
want to bring businesses in town. I don't think it's appropriate for us to be in a position to say, no, we don't want you to come.
No, I'm just telling, I'm letting you,
Yeah.
that's some historical background.
Yeah.
So this kind of came out of that. As far as led by this
Mhm.
Carvana deal and all. And by the way, being on the committee when that Carvana thing happened, we as a committee knew nothing about it. Now, I think our only thing is, it seems like we should know something about things. Instead of businesses just being courted by whomever. And maybe we don't have the right to know, but it seems like as part of EDC, we should be engaged. Otherwise, we're just here for throwing parties and making signs and stuff like that. So I think we want to feel relevant. And however that can be, we've been invited by the planning board to do something along these lines. Whether or not this is the correct way of doing it, I don't know, but they want us to be engaged, so I think we need to shake that out and find out what it needs to look like, that's all.
Mhm.
Yeah, I echo that our opinion is valuable. I think we should focus that, have the mindset that our opinion is valuable, but I also see a lot of liability, as you stated.
Right, and I don't know all the legal, I would tend to think we're somewhat. Arm's length in that we don't have any power to actually make it happen, we're purely advisory.
Right.
And
But
I would
the
hope we couldn't be sued just for, giving advice.
No, but look at the example I used, where the planning board can deny the application for a legitimate reason. But the applicant could look at the open meeting minutes and whatnot, say, well, that's bullshit, public meeting. The EDC advised against granting the permit for whatever their reasons were. And I think it's just a liability that we shouldn't be taking.
Think there's something similar going on currently.
There could be, yeah,
Fairly certain.
okay.
Well, they are coming back. After the planning board turned down, coming back, claiming that the reasons were not
Who?
legitimate. Dollar General.
Oh, okay. That's a perfect example right there, I guess.
Your point,
Greg?
well.
Yes,
Listening to this and thinking about some of the comments that I made and submitted on economic impact and benefits and that sort, was the traffic impact. Okay, and I made some references that came out of the Urban Institute of University of North Carolina. I'm gonna have to do some research, but I would suggest, or one of the things I need to do at that point is go in, do the research, and then put in footnotes to back up that information. Okay, so data,
Right,
proven data has shown that this is the type of impact that we're going to see. Here's an equivalency and whatnot, and and what kind of impact will it have at that point. So make references to known statistical data or known references, would help minimize. To say, well, that's it's not personal preferences or anything of that nature. This is the data. Okay.
right, and I was
Yeah.
gonna suggest that we add some more actual attachments and footnotes, whatever, citing specifics. And the other thing is that we wouldn't necessarily be giving an opinion at the end of it. We would
Correct.
just be, these are the how we would score this business is based on these things, but not necessarily say, therefore, we recommend we turn them down. We would just say, we're just being a research service,
Right.
and maybe we would be careful not to put anything in that says opinion. Obviously, when you score something, there's gonna be subjective qualities to it. But we're trying to make categories and get as much backing so that it's not just pure opinion, it's actually based on data and information. So I think that's a valuable function. The planning board, the select board, they don't have time to do some of the research, and they should have, it's just, and that's how I guess we should be careful to present it. What we'd be giving to the planning board is just data and research, not opinion. We try to say, this is not a recommendation, this is just
Right.
data and research and how we think it fits with those three areas. With our master plan, does it, move that forward or not? Does it move our town economically forward?
I'd be willing to, taking a look at it if some substantial changes are made relative to the subjective criteria.
Okay, but very good comments. That helps us be a lot more careful in what we put it in. Because what I think I'm gonna suggest is that we take that one and for Mark and Jean and I, because they gave me their pieces, I put them, I just attached them to mine and put it into an overall format. But we haven't done any editing really of that, and I think the three of us need to get together one more time and with these comments in mind, really go through and try to make it just pure data and research.
Yep.
Rather than a recommendation.
Okay.
Difficult task for sure.
Yeah, but worthwhile. I think these are important things, and I disagree with one thing you said that. Yeah, we are supposed to be bringing in businesses, but we also don't want to. We want to be cautious about bringing the wrong kind.
That's
If we go out and recruit
What's wrong?
businesses, we
That's
shouldn't be
subjective.
indiscriminate. We should not bring in things that are not appropriate to the infrastructure. We shouldn't bring in a logistics company. It's just not the place for it. We don't have the roads and the transportation connections that would be appropriate to certain types of businesses. We should be clear about those things.
I would recommend in your criteria, the current scale is -2 to 2. Define exactly what a 2 is, what a 1-0 exactly is.
And I tried to do that on each page.
Yeah,
The formatting didn't come over really clear either. Had a tough time reading some of on the case study one.
The idea was, it would have a strongly positive impact is +2, moderately positive +1, neutral 0, moderately negative impact -1, strongly.
my
Negative
moderately
impact.
positive and your moderately positive are different. I would guess as well as anybody else's. So, like, if possible, like a strict figure, it will create X amount of jobs or whatever.
Well, that would be part of the impact.
That would be my recommendation for creating a more solid rubric on. So to try to get objective goals to get a 2 or a 1 or whatever.
Well, I mean, we could
Doesn't fit
abandon,
probably for
we could
everybody.
abandon the scoring altogether and just do
Issue a
an
report.
analysis without scoring.
I think that's probably a better idea.
But that may be what bothered you is that comes across as an opinion when there's a score, there's always certain
Yeah.
subjective to it. So we could just give the pros and cons. Maybe that's a better approach than
Something
scoring.
like, does the applicant meet the criteria expressed in master plan section, yada, 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 either yes or no? Does the applicant, whatever, yes or no? As opposed to a subjective sliding scale. It's a suggestion, I don't know if it's even workable.
Yeah, I mean, that, the yes or no is still, can be certain subjective. It's like, does this, does,
I suppose
you know,
you're right, yeah.
our master
Yeah.
plan calls for a walkable, livable,
Which
you
is
know,
a subjective
downtown
term.
area, which is, you know, all of the master plan in some ways are subjective. And the argument is, you know, this, the Dollar General proposal, you know, it's outside of our town center and it just pulls business away. It competes with a lot of other businesses that are there. And so it actually, you know, deconcentrates our town center and disperses it and spreads it out into, you know, an area that shouldn't have large businesses necessarily. We don't want to see the whole.
So why not change the zoning so that you can't
I
put something like that?
agree. And one of the other goals I was thinking about putting on here is to develop. And I see what you think about this, for the EDC to develop recommendations on where zoning should be changed.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, let's make that we'll add that to the goal. Develop a revised, you know, recommendations for revised zonings.
That I think falls right within our purview.
So who wants to be on that?
Well, being the liaison between EDC and planning, I guess that falls right in my lap, but I'm gonna. That's
Okay,
a tall order. I mean, it's,
well, it's a recommendation. I
Yeah.
mean, and zonings can be changed. Anybody can initiate a request for a zoning change. It's not even limited, private citizens can do that. And I think that, you know, that's the best legal protection
Absolutely.
that we should have, is if we don't think that that's an appropriate place for certain kind of business, write the zoning laws to
Absolutely.
eliminate them up front.
Absolutely.
I had that discussion with Mark and he was concerned about the decision to turn down Dollar General. I said, well, you know, I'm in favor, but I think, you know, the better way to approach it is to try to preempt it with zoning changes.
I mean, you get going, so I have one question, since we have a form right now, if I leave and you're not able to close the meeting, you guys gonna still be here next week? Like if you're next month.
Yeah, we'll just have a continuous meeting. Let me see if there are any other I don't think we had any other, we approved the minutes, we delayed the vice chair position.
Southwick and Bloom.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I didn't catch that one there. Okay.
So. I mean, our goal discussion, a couple of these things I was hoping to get an opinion on are gonna be pushed off because we're missing some people. But this was a good initial, and I'm glad you were here for this early one, and we'll follow
Anything
up
else you
on
need to?
the assessment. I don't think there's anything else.
The only thing I saw that sees discuss and vote on list of goals. We could go to vote on the goals that we've got already, right?
Yeah, we could, but. And I think we've made good progress on them, but I think it'll be a more meaningful vote when we finalize the assignments of everybody.
Yeah, that's
And we have, you know, Mark and and Jack and Serena
Yeah.
can get on the goals, so. I don't see anything we're gonna lose by putting that off.
Yeah.
One more meeting, we're starting to. Get these goals in better shape. We had a good discussion
Mhm.
that we'll start putting that into shape, so we made progress on it. And I think if we can all think about it, I'll put out what we talked about, the additions. And the initial assignments, and then we'll pick it up. The next time. So. Okay,
Need a motion to adjourn or?
we could, I wanna continue through the other items, but I just wanna make sure there's nothing else we needed a quorum to vote on. So.
All right, as long as-
We need a vote whether we let Craig leave. I think you can,
Are we good?
yeah, so we're good with you. We're gonna continue, with just general discussion with the remaining group.
Very good. Good night, all.
Okay,
Good night, Gene.
Night. See ya.
okay, that, we'll wrap up. There on the discussion of goals, we'll note the ones that are gonna be assigned and the addition of the zoning as a goal. And our qualifications is we're gonna, hold off on the business evaluation until the three of us can,
I just had a thought.
Yeah.
Who's taking notes for the meeting minutes?
I'm.
Get recorded.
Okay.
I, when I thought about minutes when I started to chair the meeting. And I decided that I wanted to do them.
Okay.
Because I want to use them as a way to give out assignments,
Gotcha.
to confirm the assignments. I wanted to put some thought in it. I wanted to get it done.
Yep.
In the new format where you can see I've done items discussed, things voted on,
Mm-hmm.
and then assignments given at the end. And
Yep.
those are important, so I like to get the transcript after the meeting, think about it, and do a thoughtful presentation of the minutes that are actually help make us have better progress between meetings. So that's not a problem. Julie got everything set up and got us started well, so that's perfect. That was good. So I just want to touch on the other ones. It won't take, we're not gonna go as late as we generally have been. So we went through the list of goals. We talked about what people initially could take leadership on the goals. Which I think once we have this list in place, we probably will have somebody who will take the prime leadership of the group.
Of the assignment, I mean, yeah.
Of the assignment, so they can, it's always good to have a point person as well as a team on each of them. Jack isn't here, so we can't talk about his website content, but unless,
Oh, I can
Steve,
speak on
you
it
can-
briefly, yeah.
Yeah,
Jack,
why don't you-
Jack reviewed our website
Okay.
and kind of compared it to a couple other websites of surrounding communities. Biggest finding was that, there's quite a few redundancies in our website. I think on our resources page, we had about 12 or so links, and they all resort back to about 4 state websites. So our kind of goal here that I envision is that, if we're going to invest in signage that brings us to a landing page, we should have a very good idea of people that are going to use our website. And I kind of see that in 3 different pools. As consumers, we already have a main kind of project focused on consumers. That's a Shop Southwick portal.
Yeah.
I think another one would be people that are trying to bring their business to Southwick. One initiative that I would like to spearhead is like a business kit, a new business kit. And it's kind of came from the idea that if someone were to ask me, all right, I want to bring my business to Southwick, how do I do it? I couldn't answer them completely on, go see this person, that person, have this document. So I'd like to make a 1 to 2 page sheet on, first you do this, they recommend having this and this ready for them, and then you go on to this. As someone that wanted to bring their business to Southwick. And then third, I believe that we should have something on there for existing businesses. I just don't know exactly how we would cater to that kind of person that would view our website. So looking for input on people that have businesses, recommendations on what would help them in starting their business, and then existing businesses as well. So those are the three kind of areas I want to focus on providing resources on our website.
Yeah, and that it's, I totally agree. You always should think of audience when you're thinking of a website, who you're writing to, and. You know, most of the work I've put in so far is for the average resident audience with our business directory. And we're gonna expand that with our signage and destinations and recreational assets we're gonna put on there too. But the ones targeted to, you know, say, existing businesses and potential new businesses coming in, I know that one of the things they have to do is get a certificate, a business certificate through the clerk's office. So one place to start is talk to our town clerk to see what requirements are.
Yeah, like town clerk and then like licensing commission, stuff like that, and incorporate our, you know, if they wanted to create a business plan, stuff like that, we already have state things on there. So it's just trying to put them together where it's chronologically makes sense for
Right.
somebody creating a business. Also drafted kind of a little bit of a redesign for the website, getting key kind of quick button issues, like I have like history, like a GIS map, then like all our forms and everything are on the town website, so it's a quick link to that.
Yeah.
Right at the one click button right on the website. Things like that are kind of my first kind of key items I think to focus on.
Right, we should, you know, links, we don't have to recreate anything that's already out there, we just do a link.
Yeah. I mean, all the information's there. I think we're just kind of the signposts. It just needs to make chronological sense.
And it's, I showed you, I gave you. I put your email into as a user of our Google Analytics.
For traffic,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you done?
We finished
have you
already.
used Google Analytics
Obviously,
before?
their
Um,
agenda's
yeah,
thinner than ours.
Briefly, yeah.
Which commission?
CPC. They're finished, so I'm back.
Okay,
Yeah,
Craig had to go, but we've got no more voting, we don't have a quorum anymore, but we
Okay.
covered that, we made
Okay.
good progress on the goals. And now we're talking about the website and go to town on putting together the templates that you have in
Okay.
mind, just
sounds good
do
to
it
me.
because we can look at them when you think they're ready to review and then just click publish, because they're in draft form now, I can see them.
Yeah.
So I can look at it. Anybody else that wants access to the admin of the website, just let me know, it's easy to do.
I think having broad access to everything might be a mistake. There's just too many cooks in the kitchen. Not that, I mean, I want to do everything on it. But I think having one webmaster that has, and then presents it to the.
I think if you know what tabs you're working on, I don't necessarily want you to go into the business directory and start changing things. Because I'm directly managing that, but I haven't done any work on any of these tabs you're working on. So that's not a conflict. I would just assume you have total freedom there to. You're just developing drafts. Nothing's permanent till you click publish. So I don't see a problem with that, and I can look at it anytime, because even when you have it in draft form, I can see it.
Yeah.
On the admin. So I don't see a problem with that. You know, if we run into that, we can restrict. access, but I can't imagine that that's gonna be an issue.
Okay.
As long as everybody knows what tabs they're working on.
Don't
And
worry,
that-
I'm not gonna go in there.
You don't wanna do any direct work,
I hire
But-
people for that stuff.
well, and if
Completely clueless about what goes on behind the front door.
And I've given everybody an
Website.
option, they, you know, if they're not comfortable working directly on the website, they're willing, they can still write up something in a Word document or a spreadsheet and say, could you put this in the website? We'll put it in. One of us will put it in. And Gene, that goes for you on the library materials. You know, if you want access to the website, I'll give that to you, or if you wanna write up what you wanna publish in a Word document or any other kind of document or a paper document if you want.
Right.
And I know you've been sick, but whatever you get to the point where you have something, just get it to me, email it to me, whatever, and I'll put it in a draft of a web page and
Got it.
go from,
Yeah, will do.
so.
I'll circle back with you on that, as a matter of fact.
Right, so I'm not pushing you hard on that yet, and Mark isn't here to talk about the business vacancy piece of it. I've already talked about the quotes I'm getting for the destination map and that, and I think we have the approval we voted last time to bring that to the point of a more formal presentation, and I hope to get quotes, so by the next meeting, I can have something put together as a fairly detailed proposal for those projects, the map and the signage. And then we can look at it and decide whether to formally present that proposal to the select board. Let's see. So I think we covered everything under old business. And under new business, we talked a little bit about Southwick and Bloom, which Craig's gonna maybe we'll talk about that more next week. He had some things he wanted to think about there. The one other item of new business that we don't have, Craig, we don't have anybody that was on the board last year or the year before that went through that. I wasn't involved in it in the past. I think Inga said she had some ideas and she used to be the driver of that. She did promotions with the restaurants in town for the special shop local day in late November. Anybody that's here have any thoughts about doing a shop local promotion?
Seems like it's something, a good idea to do, tie it into like a Porch Fest or a Tapas Fest, or tie it all together into one shop local day promotion. But I don't pull it all together. It's
Generally done.
comprehensive.
Yeah, we have the resources to do it for this November,
Oh,
that's next month.
Absolutely not.
No,
So,
Planning ahead.
If you want to use it as a promotion for the portal, or to say. That maybe just on, not sure if we utilize social media or anything like that, or whatever avenue we have for promotion. For shop local day and use this. To drive traffic to the website, but I don't think that would be smart to kind of have the website up and going. I mean, the portal's up and going, so we could drive it.
yeah, the portal, I mean, one thing I could see doing at some point with the portal is we have the ability on these directories to put photos, put coupons, to put promotions, I can put them up and take them down. How we would promote it, where we, that's the key to, it's hard to promote something widely without spending money. And we don't have a lot of surplus money to spend. And my biggest concern about doing shop local, I don't wanna do something like that unless we can do something that gives a measurable, clearly measurable positive result.
Sure.
Because sometimes you do things that you think would be great, and when you measure them, you find that they didn't really move the needle.
Yep.
And we did our big signs at the motocross nationals, and it didn't move the needle at all.
It was the wrong place.
Yeah, they were put in the wrong spot, right?
Probably the wrong kind of sign, and it probably wasn't the best place to promote Dine Local because they had food trucks all over the place. That was maybe the biggest
Yeah.
reason. There wasn't a need for people to go off the spot there.
Yeah.
And it was probably hard to get around with the vehicles and food trucks and whatever. It just wasn't something that generated a lot of interest with the food trucks and stuff on site. Anyway, that's the idea with the shop local promotion. I'd like to know that it actually made a difference, that it boosted business, that, you know, was it just a temporary one day? If you push them to give away a prize or spend money or give away a discount, did it pay back? Did it boost enough traffic to pay back the trouble and difficulty and the discount dollars? And I've been, my career was all in marketing. Everything had to have payback that we did. And I'm not
Didn't get
sure.
budgeted next time.
Yeah, everything was a bottom line
Sure.
spend. And here, for one thing, we don't have a lot of money to spend. And you know, I don't know that it's our job to do advertising for our businesses. I think it's our job to pull together co-ops that they couldn't do on their own. That's where this map thing, where it's a mutual thing and the signage thing, that's something they couldn't do on their own. And that boosts businesses for the town in general, but to do promotions for a specific day for a specific set of businesses, I don't think we can justify spending money on that. So, and I know Inge had a different opinion on or approach on that, and she did a lot of it just by getting out and getting on the street and talking to people and pulling together a promotion, but we've got so many other things going. I don't know that any of us are able to, you know, on short notice, do that in the way that it should be done. I don't want to do something halfway. So I think that for this year, we're not in a position to do that, but it's something we can keep in mind. How can we do it in a measurable, significant way in the future? I think we have agreement. We can't take a vote on it, but
Yeah.
Okay, that does it for the agenda. Do we have any public comments?
Oh, I just stopped by. I was up at the CPC meeting, but I don't know, Marcus Phelps, 28
Yes.
Depot Street. I don't know, did you talk earlier in the evening about the College Highway crosswalk
Yeah,
possibilities? I had an opportunity to go up through Southampton not that long ago,
yes,
and they have several. I mean, it's College Highway, just like here in South Bend. And they have several crosswalks that they, you know, have been installed there. So I think you were talking like 2, and they
I
may
said-
have 3 or 4 that.
oh, yeah,
Yeah, if you get a chance, or you need to go to the DMV or RNV
right.
in East Hampton.
Oh, yeah, I've looked at, I've had my eyes open for the last couple years in all the towns in Western Mass, and there's crosswalks everywhere. And, you know, after the discussion with the select board, which we talked about earlier, a crosswalk appeared, and I don't think it was related to our discussion, but there's a painted crosswalk now across College Highway at Tractor Supply. At the end of the sidewalk.
Wow.
If you go out that end, you'll see it. When they repainted the lines, they added that.
Yeah.
And it's just paint. It's nothing, there's no signs,
Yeah,
nothing
no
else.
flashing or, yeah.
No, so I mean, it shows that it wasn't a crazy idea that
Yeah.
paint on a crosswalk. But what I talked about earlier that I'm gonna do is if the select board doesn't want to take it up and if we have a special town meeting in December, I'm gonna submit it as a citizen warrant article. So we'll get a vote on it.
Yeah,
It'll need to be approved by the state highway department. I understand that. But I just want to vote that, does the town want to see the speed limits lowered? And do they want to see crosswalks at the same time? That I will not try to show the design of it. I'll just say crosswalks that meet the required safety specs. In a design that meets.
when we did the master plan, it didn't come up from a number of people, but there were a couple comments about the hazard crossing College Highway, like down by the Village Green there, Village Shopping Center. High school kids come from the high school, they go up to the ice cream place there on the top of the hill, and then they'll go down, maybe go to Dollar Tree.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, that, just a couple strategic places, and, you know, it has to meet all the standards of visibility and all this, but if you drop the speed limit down,
Right, they go together.
increase,
The,
the time they have to see somebody in the crosswalk.
right, the lower speed limit helps make the crosswalk safer, and the crosswalks help the speed to be slower because they now become another barrier, so to speak,
Right.
for on our otherwise open drag strip town center.
Yeah,
Um,
that's all, I just wanted to stop by. Mention that Southampton, which, you know, is about the same size as Southwick, and is right on.
oh, yeah, there's a lot of the hill towns have crosswalks and all of the Berkshire towns, Lennox, Lee and Stockbridge all have painted crosswalks and on their not only state highways, but the US 20, there's crosswalks across it. And they don't generally have flashing lights, they do have flexible signs on some of them that, you know, help signal it. And lower speed limits.
Oh, I think you're on the right track.
It'll help the businesses
Yeah.
because people are afraid to turn into a business if they don't think they're gonna, sit there and risk their life to turn back out on the highway to people whizzing by.
Yeah. Okay, that's my 4 cents for tonight.
Okay, I guess we can't take a vote on adjournment because we lost our quorum, but we will go ahead and adjourn and stop the recording.